Hey, this is Zaklog the Great, and I am back once again taking one of these political tests. I did one of the 8 values test previously, and some people thought it was interesting, so I thought I would repeat this with a different kind of test. This is the fascism test from IDRlabs, and we're going to find out how much of a fascist I am. How concerned Antifa really should be with me. As the American legal scholar David S. D'Amato has pointed out, much of the meaning contained in the word fascism has been lost in its constant and lazy employment as a general term of abuse. I very much agree. Though fascism and fascist have long been pejorative catchwords employed by both right and left in their announcement of anything they do not like, more by the left. Fascism is, in fact, no catch all, but a definite political ideology situated at a complex crossroads between socialism, conservatism, and liberalism. Fascism actually is a political philosophy. You don't have to agree with it, but it means more than just pushy. It has distinct elements of its own. So we're going to find out how much of a fascist I am, how much Zaklog agrees with fascism. Does your political outlook share any of fascism's doctrines, Zaklog? Let's find out. Question 1. Organizations like the Freemasons and similar secret lodges cannot be trusted since they have their own agendas. I'm not super worried about them, but I mean, I think this is at least understandable, so I'm going to say somewhat agree. Question 2. If a people hasn't accomplished much throughout the course of its history, that tells you something about the worth of that people. Uh, um, Kind of, yes. I mean, their intrinsic human worth, whatever that might mean. But I mean, how much are they going to contribute? How much do they contribute to society as a whole, to the world as a whole? Yeah. To view consumer goods and an increase in living standards as ends in themselves is a sign of moral corruption and decadence. Yes, to pursue wealth, to pursue easy living as an end of its own. Um, you know you that is this you know that is a moral error. So agree. A plurality of political parties is necessary to ensure that no one circle of individuals gets too complacent in power. I would be perfectly happy with no political parties and no government at all, but I if there is a government, I want I would at least like real fights over it. In fact, frankly, what we have in the U.S. is much more like a uniparty, where they pretend to fight, but on far too many things they agree, primarily for the purpose of screwing the rest of us over. So, agree. The free market is the most efficient way of organizing the economy known to man. Yes, agree. When it comes down to it, politics is mostly about the distribution of money, materials, and resources. A people's values and religion are just icing on the cake. No, I disagree. I mean, there is the there is money, materials, and resources. There are also very. I mean, who gets those is actually a question of values in and of itself. And so, disagree. In fact, strongly disagree. The economic losses from worker strikes and employer lockouts are just too massive to allow market forces to sort these things out by themselves. Um, Worker strikes and employer lockouts. I disagree. I think if it's that hugely important, that gives the employer more incentive to, take care to respond to, what the employees are demanding, and then so I disagree. People shouldn't be allowed to spread dangerous political beliefs or ridicule those with whom they disagree without the permission of proper authorities. Um, Not that long ago, this would have been a hard disagree. Um, I am reluctantly coming around to, I believe, Vox Day has articulated it. We are either going to live under, Christian blasphemy laws or anti-Christian blasphemy laws. The idea that we can have no free speech doesn't last. It's not stable. I don't like it. I'm going to just stay in the middle on this one. All people are essentially worth the same, no matter their race, gender, nationality, or IQ. Not really. I'm sorry, but in terms of what we contribute to society, no. I mean, if you want to talk about some abstract human value, like, every human life has value, but some people contribute more than others to other people, to society as a whole. You can't really pretend otherwise. The honor and worth of a people is proportional with the contributions it has made to global civilization. If a people has not contributed much, it is of little worth. Yeah, agree. I mean, warfare is the only state that truly shows you what a given people is made of. Disagree, but I think hard times, I think, you see what someone's made of in difficult times, but that's not, warfare isn't the only way. I will say there are certain kinds of human nobility that only something like that can bring out. Is that worth it? I don't really think so, but anyway. In the end, economic and technological strength cannot compete with the spiritual strength of a people that has faith in their country. I'm going to put medium agree. I mean, how long has the United States, which, the world's sole superpower, been, fighting in Afghanistan a, bunch of goat herders armed with, barely functional machine guns, and, we have fighter jets and nuclear missiles and everything in between. If you are armed with a tank and your enemy is armed with a spear, if he believes in his cause and you don't, he's gonna win. A person who has nothing to hide has nothing to fear from government surveillance. Hard disagree. I think that, things like intelligence agencies and spying, I think that there is a valid role for those to have a functioning state. I think it's pretty clear they've gone nuts lately. Well, and especially because they're targeting the worst threat the U.S. has ever had, which is white Americans. So that's not lovely. Next. People who seek to achieve happiness through money and material comfort will never achieve it. Now get it. Short term, long term, it's not a great plan. The mode of organization employed by the military is an efficient one, and institutions like schools, the police, and firefighters could generally benefit from adopting more of the military's practices and discipline. Disagree. It's good for attaining a certain kind of end, but even for those purposes, it's only good in under real pressure. You know, if a country is fighting, for its survival, there's real pressure to make sure that the military is actually doing its job and is actually functioning as intended. But then outside of those circumstances, it just becomes this gigantic, bloated, bureaucratic mess. So, disagree. The political challenges of today are so serious that they can no longer be solved within the traditional paradigms of political thought. I don't know. I'm not going to say either way. There are no universal ethics. What is true and good for one people may be false and bad for another. I'm going to disagree. I mean, there are local customs and local cultures, local traditions that we can respect and let alone. But there's also right and wrong, and you can't just wave that away. The individual is more important than the state. Very much agree. The government should exist. A government should exist to serve the people, not serve individuals, not the other way around. Running a business is not very hard, and as a rule, the business owner doesn't possess any special skills that are not also possessed by his workers. Hard disagree. Now, I will say, today we're in a situation where, a lot of these things are run by a lot of these companies are run by people who did not build them and could not have built them. And they're basically taking over and destroying things for their own benefit. But no, running a business takes its own special set of skills. Classical liberalism is essentially ideology of the past, and modern attempts to reinstate it, aka neoliberalism, are bound to lead to wars. I don't... okay, I'm not really a fan of classical liberalism, I don't think, anymore. It doesn't seem to be working too well. At the same time, I don't like the an ideology of the past, that it was true then, but it's not now. It was, that idea was good on Tuesday, but it's Thursday now, so... somewhat agree. Politicians have a responsibility not to upset the traditional ways of communities that live according to their time-honored customs, values, and creeds. I think they should, respect tradition. Like I said, there's traditions that have value, and there's also hard and fast, right and wrong. And where those two cross paths, it's hard to say sometimes. Democracy is dangerous to competent statecraft because it forces every political decision to be lowered to a level of stupidity that the masses can understand. Depends who the masses are. Depends who's voting. It's kind of interesting seeing a... you've seen, see political maps. How this election would have gone if only these people voted. Only these people voted. Only these people voted. If actual Americans were the only ones voting, we'd be in a lot better position. Forces every political... Somewhat disagree. Politically speaking, the state is a second-order consequence, the derived effect of a people laying claim to their homelands and flourishing there. I agree. The state should exist to serve the people. The state should exist to serve individuals, not the other way around. We are the real thing. The government is the imaginary thing. Ethics is a matter of statecraft. Whatever furthers the interest of the state is good. Whatever inhibits it is bad. Strong disagree. If a state is to protect the freedom of its citizens in the long run, the state itself must be free to make controversial or unlawful decisions when necessary. Um, Strong disagree. I mean, just openly endorsing that is a quick path to, politicians and bureaucrats doing whatever they want and pretending it serves the interests of the people. The individual cannot really claim any rights against the state since it's the state that grants him those rights in the first place. Strong disagree. We are made in the image of God. The state is a human creation. The state does not exist before us. The state does not, the state is not over us. It is not logical or efficient to have several companies all making the same tire, the same wrench, the same cable, etc., so the state should step in to coordinate their efforts. Disagree, because, if you have more than one company, they're competing with each other. Theoretically, there is corruption and all that stuff. But if you have people competing, they're always trying to outdo each other. They're always trying to basically get out the best product for the best price, so that people will want what they have voluntarily. So strong disagree. The struggle between the rich and poor, between capital owners and laborers, is a much more significant driver of history than the struggle between nations. How much do I dis? I don't think it's irrelevant, but I don't think it's the main thing, so somewhat disagree. Okay. You are 43% fascist, which makes you a fascist fellow traveler. In your case, it would appear that your political outlook shares more than a few of the core doctrines of fascism, since fascism is really a mix of communism, socialism, conservatism, and liberalism with a few innovations of its own thrown in. It is scarcely surprising that most people's political outlook will have quite a few similarities to the doctrines of fascism. Even after adjusting for these parameters, however, it would seem that the commonalities between your political outlook and fascism are not merely incidental, but arise from certain overall themes, concerns, and solutions which your personal outlook has in common with fascism. While you are most likely not a fascist, the overlap between your preferred society and that of fascism is simply too significant to be pure chance. In all likelihood, you are what one might call a fascist fellow traveler. Someone who sees value in some of the immediate societal changes that fascism would bring about, but not someone who is an actual fascist. Your ultimate political goal lies elsewhere. So, how fascist is Zaklog the Great? 43% fascist. If you cut me in half, almost half of me is fascist. What do I think of this? What's my opinion? I mean, where do I think the crossover lies? I mean, I think there is... where do I think I have most in common with fascism as I understand it? Why would they peg me as somewhat connected? I guess primarily in seeing the value of tradition and the people, the value of a nation as a group of people related. Basically, the nation as a large extended family. I think that is something that probably fits with fascism, and I think there is value in that idea. What else? I mean, to be honest, in terms of ideal, what I would love to actually see, I am something of an anarchist. I think we should, I think we could probably get along better without any government at all. Although getting there, it would be a long and difficult road. And that would also be very complicated by having diversity. Diversity is our weakness. diversity sows dissent and distrust, and I don't think you could easily attain to the level of societal trust necessary for a free anarchist society with diversity, with racial and ethnic diversity. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, and God be with you.